Tottenham till I die, Spurs diehards. Tottenham till I die. Tottenham till I die. Tottenham till I die. Spurs diehards. Tottenham till I die.
Hello to everybody everywhere, and this is Spurs Diehards Tottenham Till I Die. Thank you for joining us. We hope you're doing well. I would like to welcome everybody in. To my left, we have... Oh, hang on. No, that's to my right. We have Mr. Adrian. How you doing, Adrian?
I'm fine. Looking forward to getting to it. We have got some interesting talking points, even though there isn't really a lot going on with our club at the moment, apart from them frustrating us in the transfer window.
Exactly. We will, I'm sure, get onto that. We have a regular contributor to the channel, Mr. Steve Silver from Stateside Footy. Steve, how are you doing, sir?
Oh, man, I'm just living the dream, man. Champagne, caviar, limos, palm trees, yachts. You know how we do it out here in Michigan, man. I'm just living that beautiful dream we call life.
ASAP Silver, what up? Ian,
What up?
co-owner of the show, co-owner of Spurs Diehards, joining us for an hour tonight. How are you doing, Ian?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm having just a little bit of trouble with my volume control. Yeah, I'm good. The new signings this week have got me really excited. Even more now. Can't wait for the season to start.
Awesome. And joining us for the first time, you may know him from Spotlight on Spurs. He's been doing the rounds. He's got a face only a mother could love. How you doing, Luke? How's it going, mate?
You're absolutely not wrong. I think my wife would agree with you as well, to be honest with you. I'm doing well. As the guys have said, what a brilliant time to be a Spurs fan. Who'd have known that winning the Europa League would bring us here, right?
I know, such joy, such I don't know, such desire. I mean, there is certainly desire for the season to get started. I will say that, but I really appreciate you coming over and joining us, and I also really appreciate the raid that you provided us. And thank you to anybody that came over with Luke. He does great work over at Spotlight on Spurs, and I hope he knows I'm only joking. He's a very handsome young lad, and he's growing numbers substantially from 100 to 1,000 very, very quickly. So be sure to get over there, give him a follow. And we are glad to have him here. We're also glad to have the 50 of you joining us immediately across all the platforms. And right out the gate, Peter, once again, coming in with 10 gifted memberships. And honestly, Peter, it's people like you that keep us going. And we truly, truly appreciate you right out the gate, yet again, blessing some of the chat. So who we got here? If you can, Tommy K, Talk and Ball, Archer, Surge71, Paddy Hartnett, Swim Master and Steve D, Ryan G, Destiny 5. If you are in the chat, firstly, hello, welcome. Secondly, be sure to thank Peter. We've got some regulars in the chat as well. We'll go and say hello to those very quickly. We have Beast of TH, big up to you. We have Sam Crawley, Audio Artisan. Who else we got? I saw a familiar name in here a minute ago. We had What's the Point FC. I mean, if you want to get philosophical, I wonder what the point is sometimes as well. But thank you very much for joining us. We'll get straight into it after I say thank you again for Peter. Are you sure you're not leaning on your mouse button, Peter? He's just gifted another 10 subscribers. I'm sure. I hope that wasn't by mistake. Thank you very much, Peter. We should get on with it. I will find out who those went to in a minute. But let's get started.
After you introduce Steve.
I thought I did introduce Steve, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, man. I'm just
Sorry.
Please get me off. I can't, just when you're zigging, I'm zagging. Come on, Adrian.
Sorry.
It's all good. It's all good, mate. Right, I'll tell you where we are. Being as Ian mentioned it, and we'll go to Ian first. The signings this week. Were you expecting at least maybe the Morgan Gibbs White saga to be done and dusted, and for him to have been through the door by now? Or were you?
I did. I thought it would be. I thought it would be well done by now. The one thing that encourages me, there's two things. The first thing is, if we get this thing over the line, and I think like Adrian and others, I think we will get this over the line. This delay won't matter. I said on the show on Sunday, and we're now at Friday, that the fact that everybody had gone into Perda, that no one was saying a thing, in my view, was really good. And the fact that I think there'll be lots and lots of stuff going on behind the scenes. But I would have hoped that would have been resolved by now. I mean, I think Marinakis is probably a very difficult character. I think more and more about this this release clause and what can be in it. I mean, is there, for example, you start to think, is there a clause that says if with an NDA clause like that, a confidentiality clause, it's normal that you don't reveal the content of it, but a second point might be you don't reveal the existence of it. That's quite common in confidentiality agreements. And for anybody watching that doesn't know, I'm a specialist in employment law. So I've written these things, never mind about seen them. Although obviously I've not seen the footballer's contract. It might also say, which is the bit that's starting to worry me, although I think Forrest would have announced this by now, that if it's revealed, if either the existence of the clause or the contents are revealed, it becomes null and void. Now, I doubt that's the case, but something is clearly holding it up, because apparently we've offered more than the 60 million. If someone came along and said 65, would the player say, okay, I'll go to Newcastle, or I'll go to, or has he got his mind set on Spurs? But I really would like this resolved now, because apart from anything else, we do have other targets. You know, we are apparently progressing with Wharton, but that's another difficult deal. And you sometimes go, can we not just do something easily, just once in a blue moon? Although the ones that we don't talk about are the ones that suddenly you wake up in the morning, they announce the signing, and it's all done and dusted. So I'm really hoping upon hope that this is going to get done, but it is frustrating, very frustrating.
Very frustrating. Big up, Graham, Spurs GCTV. Good to have you in here, mate. Thank you very much for coming in. Luke, we'll come over to you. Thank you very much for joining us today. Appreciate it. What's your take on the Morgan Gibbs? Well, I mean, firstly, is he a player that excites you coming to Spurs? Is it something that we need, or is the hold up a blessing in disguise, as some people would say, and should we maybe move on to other targets?
No, well, first of all, thanks for having me on. No, I think he's a top player. I think he improves the 11 in a variety of different ways. I think he's young enough that he can go to another level under Frank. I think he's got leadership. I think he's got a bit of bite. I think he's able to play in different positions. He's exactly what I wanted Spurs to go and sign. I didn't think that we would get this sort of player over the line personally. When we were speaking a couple of months back and people were saying who are your targets, he wouldn't have been one, because I wouldn't have thought we've got him. Very similar to Kudos. I didn't expect Spurs to go to a West Ham or go to a Nottingham Forest who've just qualified for Europa League and go, here's 50, here's 60. I just didn't expect it. So I think he's a top player. I think if we get him over the line, and if he's the number one, then I think we should wait for him. I'll try and keep this a little bit brief because there's so many different avenues you can go down. But
no, you carry on, mate. Carry on. Keep it going.
I think that the delay could actually work in everybody's favour here, in terms of Morgan Gibbs White's going through something personally, which is horrendous. Anyone that's been through pregnancy, let alone a high risk one, is a very, very difficult time. He is probably sitting there going, do you know what? I'm not really that bothered at this moment in time what goes on with transfers. I just want to make sure everything's okay and be with the family. It works for him to delay it. Also, when all agreed, he was getting an unbelievable amount of stick from Forest fans, which I think was incredibly poor because he hadn't done anything wrong in my eyes. Spurs fans are saying he should be handing in transfer requests when he's got that going on. So maybe just a couple of weeks for him works. Forest are obviously annoyed that they've just lost Elanga, potentially losing him. They may be sitting there going, we need to save a bit of face. And also, if everybody knows we've got 120 million in the bank, maybe they're going to charge us more. So let's hold on to him, get the players through the door. And then for Spurs, we've got so many players that we actually need to start shifting some out as well. So it's not great as a fan, but maybe, just maybe, on all sides, this 2-week delay it's not the end of the world. If there's an expectancy from all sides, actually, this is going to go through. It's just going to play out because Forest need to get their business done, and also Morgan Gibbs White. Everybody's just staying respectful to that situation. That's me being optimistic.
Yeah, no, fair play. And Steve, there have been sort of rumours in the background that, I mean, obviously we're aware of the pregnancy. It's been mentioned that it's high risk. I mean, as I say, I'm kind of a bit oblivious to that sort of thing, but obviously any sort of pregnancy is somewhat of a risk. So you've got to take care of family first. But I mean, Steve, you sort of echo those sentiments? Is it good to maybe just let everybody sort of do their thing, let the dust settle in the background? I mean, sure, things are happening whether we know about them or not, right?
Sure. Yeah, first and foremost, I don't like to talk about players' personal lives just because I don't think it has anything to do with the scope of football. That being said, the way that I look at this is the interesting thing, because when I take a step back and I look at this, the disrespect from Marinakis to players is just absolutely beautiful, right? Like, really, when you think about this, right? Because Tottenham have absolutely done nothing wrong. And Ian, maybe you can back me up on this one, because from my understanding, that every transfer, every contract that gets signed in the Premier League is also filed along with the Premier League and the FA for insurance purposes, right? So it's not exactly hard for a team that's looking at a player that that could get the details of their contract before they approach a team to find out market value or wages and things of these type of things. So from a Spurs standpoint, it probably wouldn't be hard to find out exactly what's in his contract. And specifically have a plan to how to approach a player. From that standpoint, Morgan Gibbs White and Tottenham Hotspur have agreed to personal terms, and also, they triggered the release clause. So from that standpoint, it is, I don't necessarily want to, be too far ahead of myself to say that, essentially from that standpoint, the only thing left to do is I guess you could say to negotiate with Nottingham Forest. But from the disrespect side, from Nottingham Forest, here's the interesting thing, right? Wasn't it Spurs that helped Nottingham Forest out just a few years ago, avoiding PSR issues when they actually got Brendan Johnson from Nottingham Forest, right? So at the on one side, we've already done them a solid. But think about it from the player's perspective. And when I take a step back and I try to put myself in the shoes of the actual player, the disrespect is just absolutely beautiful, right? Because that's what Marinakis wants. He wants the muddy water so goddamn muddy that Tottenham just say, you know what, we're not going to touch this, and it frees them to potentially try to extend him on a contract. Because from this standpoint, they've been trying to get him to extend for a year and a half now, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're a player and you're looking at this, right, the player wants to leave. The player wants to go to a better club that has an opportunity at Champions League, and it just seems like it would be a better fit for them. And then you have this owner that for a team that you're playing for, who is strictly saying that I will do whatever it takes, whether it's good or bad, to make sure that you do not leave it. I will literally throw a wrench into your career if I absolutely have to do this, right? Yeah. So from that standpoint, why would he even want to stay?
Stephen, can I come in? I did put something up on the stage there. I think it was from Brett about I mean, I've heard this from a couple of sources as well, that they will let Morgan Gibbs White go once they've signed replacements. And Ramsey, McAtee and Elliott, there were two of those three. I haven't heard them linked with Elliott, but certainly with McAtee and Ramsey. So I think, I mean, they need a replacement for Elanga as well, which would probably where what Ramsey would come in. Elliott would probably, Elliott would be a really good replacement for Gibbs White. Although I think he can play at a better level than that, to be honest. But I am. It has taken too long, and it has been almost.
Ian, is it? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, right? But whenever a player signs a contract or a player gets transferred within the Premier League, those contracts are on file with the Premier League and the FA, correct, for insurance purposes?
I don't know about run by the FA. Every player and their contract has to be registered. It's with the Premier League.
Premier League. There you go.
Yeah, every player certainly has to be registered with the Football Association at every level in football. Even as an amateur, you have to be registered with the Football Association to play for a club that's affiliated, and that can be down to Parks football. But certainly the contracts, would be registered with the Premier League. But as I said, there will be all kinds of things going on in the background, including the Professional Footballers Association. The PFA here will no doubt have a fairly strong view of it, and we'll be making that view clear. As I say, I'm encouraged by the fact that nobody is saying anything. I think that's good. That war of words between Forest and Tottenham appears to be over. Has been pointed out, their chairman is a top sports and employment King's Counsellor. That's the highest level of lawyer you can get in this country, with court rights and what have you. I'm sure he's giving his chairman, he's giving his owner good advice. And if I think the advice was he's not going to Tottenham, that would have been the end of it. Maybe they're trying to punt him to other clubs, maybe not. But I suspect that he's going to be a Tottenham player. It's just, I've just had something from Callum, who is a really good source of mine for stuff like this. So can you bear with me, because this will be absolute breaking news, and there's nothing like giving some. It's actually on the put it onto the Diehards site. I heard from a source that he is leaving the camp tomorrow, but not sure how reliable this is. No idea on reasoning either at the moment. So look, that's the latest we've got. We try.
I mean, that could be as much to do. That could be as much to do with the missus in hospital, right?
Well, but he's gone to the training camp, so it can't be that serious if he's left the hospital.
That's true.
But
true.
Look,
I mean, guess we shall see.
On the show on Sunday, and with a bit of luck, this deal will be done, and we can celebrate it. But look, we try not to bring too many rumours on this. We do try and stick with facts. But Callum's been a pretty good source of information, and he's not verifying that. But if he's leaving the camp, that would be good news for us.
No, absolutely. What do you, Adrian? We've not heard from you yet. What do you make of him? Well, let's sort of move it on a little bit. What do you make of him leaving the camp? You think that's obviously good news, right? Because Ian makes the point he wouldn't have left England if there was a need for him to stick around because of, let's say, other reasons. So you would think that maybe that's positive for us.
I'm confident Gibbs White will be a Spurs player anyway. I mean, you've got. I mean, the media have been dragging his story out. They've been twisting it till it's like a worn-out piece of chewing gum. They've come at every angle because there's nothing happening during the transfer window, and they want the story to go. So they keep adding another innuendo to it here and there, to keep it going. And the point is, if you zero straight into the facts, right, and the proof, which they refuse to even look at, they just haven't got that insight or don't want to recognise it. It's the fact that Marinakis threw his toys out of the pram. Well, not only threw him out of the pram, he got out of the pram and thumbed the lift, right? I mean, he's got the ump. So why has he got the ump, right? He's the reason for blowing his top, because he knows we have activated the clause. right? Otherwise, he's got no reason to throw a strop. He can come up with, oh, there's a non-disclosure and all that afterwards. He knows that that has been activated, right? That contract is then legally binding. Even if another club came in, right? Even if another club comes in for Morgan Gibbs-White, which is unlikely because I don't think anyone will want to get involved in this mess, right? He couldn't charge him anymore.
Spurs, only Spurs.
I know, but he couldn't charge him anymore because that price is now set. It's a legally set price.
Right.
He might disagree with me, then I might have to bow to his employment law knowledge, right? But to me, logically, that price is set. So that tells me you've shouted your mouth off, fair enough. You did it with Gary Neville. You berated your manager on the pitch after a game. You're a bit of a nutcase, right? As far as football's concerned. And there's no way Morgan Gibbs-White is not going to be a Spurs player. It's not going to happen. And Levy, he would have the opportunity afterwards. I mean, we don't want this to get messy, and you don't want to go to a last result. But as a last result, Levy could sue. He could sue because then we've activated a clause. You're refusing to act on it. You cannot withhold the player's registration. Slavery's been abolished, Mr. Americans. It's been abolished. You can't do it. Right? You can't withhold his registration. You have to deal. I think he's stalling. I believe the clubs are talking. I don't care all this about no communication. That's just rubbish, right? The clubs are talking, and the little impasse is, okay, let's wait until we get a replacement in because that'll appease their fans anyway, a bit. Not the real lovers of Morgan's Gibbs-White one. And that's the situation. If he leaves the camp, well, another thing is like others were saying, oh, yeah, he's gone away, he ain't signing for Spurs. Hang about it. Harry Kane went to Korea. He's still signed for Bayern Munich. Going away on a pre-season tour doesn't mean jack. No, I'm convinced he'll be a player. For any who's nervous, I know Spurs fans they've had their patience worn out through so many incidents and situations. It's football club, they've run out. I'm glad we've got the trophy over the line. That's especially for the younger generation. But it's a transfer window. You know what it's like. They're horrible. No one likes them. I don't like them, right? But I know you've got to exercise patience during this window, and there's plenty of time. Back to you, Drew.
Yeah, well, let's move on from Gibbs-White and sort of, I mean, we'll put that one in the back pocket and hope that obviously it's just a case of dotting I's and crossing T's. We'll move along to maybe the next piece of the puzzle. And Luke, I'll ask you because Beast has mentioned in the chat here, and I guess we'll all get our take on this. We was wanting a pick between Douglas Luiz or Paulinho. I mean, is that a direction? Where do you want to see the club go next in terms of positions, Luke? I guess without wanting to put numbers on it, this is your typical sort of 6 defensive midfielder, sort of, string puller, shall we say? I mean, is that the next thing that we need, or where do you think we should be looking for more reinforcements?
Yeah, I think there's 3 areas that we need. I think that's the 6, the defensive-sided midfielder, whatever you want to call it. I think that's the first one. I think we need to cover the left-hand side of the defence, whether it be a left back, a left centre back, someone that plays both. And then I think we also need someone in the forward line, but that's about getting other players out the door before we can start worrying about signings. So they're the order that I would like them in. Going back to the actual question about Paulinho or Luiz, I was a big fan of Luiz. I think Paulinho would be a good signing. However, I think he was the signing on the range. I don't think we need that destroyer type anymore. I don't think Frank needs it. I think we'll be better defensively. I think we need a bit more of a ball player and still a defensive-minded or a defensive player, but not someone that's a Paulinho type. I think we need a bit more of a progressive passer. And Luiz was one of the options that I was really, really happy with. However, all of the positive stuff that I'm throwing at Morgan Gibbs-White in terms of him doing exactly what he should be doing, not transfer requesting, going to training, going on tour, not kicking up. Luiz is doing the complete opposite. So for me, you're not turning up to training because you're not happy. That's life. Unlucky. You shouldn't have signed the deal to go to Juventus. You should have stayed at Villa. That's what happens at some big clubs. So I was a big advocate for him. However, now I'm like, I'm not so sure. Maybe a loan deal, but it's again potentially an attitude problem that you're bringing in players that are not prepared to come to training when they should do, or if they don't get their own way, whatever. So, but I think, as I said, Palhinha will be a decent signing, but I think we need a bit more of a player, a bit more of a ball player than the Palhinha type.
Somebody a bit more cultured, you think? Somebody just that can play, put their foot on the ball and play a bit more of a decisive pass, right?
Yeah.
Steve, where are you at with it? You think there's a lot of sense in a Douglas Luiz or a Palhinha?
My issue with Palhinha is that number one, I worry about his injury history. Last season, I think he didn't even get 1,000 minutes last year because he was battling injuries pretty much all season. And the fact that Bayern Munich are willing to get rid of him after one season does ring alarm bells in my mind as well too. Whether or not he's at the capability of playing at a Premier League level, which I don't know how you guys feel. Me personally, it's night and day than playing in the Bundesliga. But that being said, for everything that Luke just said was exactly how I was going to go with this one, because I actually agree that I don't think we actually do need that destroyer in the center defensive mid. But that being said, though, look at that sixth position in a vacuum right now, right? Where your starting six is going to be Rodrigo Betancourt, and then there's a massive drop off after that, right? So when you're needing rotation, whether it be in the cups or whether it be in the Champions League or vice versa, right? There is a massive drop off, and I would probably assume that Yves Bissouma is going to be out the door, and then what's after that? An 18, 19-year-old Archie Gray that has a small sample size at the position. And so you're looking at a drop off that has a potential to come bite us in the ass when we actually need somebody to step up and play hard minutes. And I just don't. I just seen the sample size of Archie Gray, and I wonder if he's ready to take on that responsibility. Fantastic prospect. We just don't know whether or not he can actually consistently do it. So there is a need. That being said, I would probably favor Luiz, even with his personality, and even with the baggage that comes along with it, right? Because you're going from a team in the Serie A to a team that is going, has the projection to finish in the top six and be playing in Champions League. And I think that might be appealing enough for a guy to step in and actually mind his P's and Q's for at least 6 months.
Fair play. Ian, where would you? I mean, surely those can't be the only two defensive-minded midfielders in the world. Is there, where else? Or do you think? I mean, there's been an argument the last sort of week or so. I've been having a couple of conversations with people, and there's also a bit of an argument that we're maybe looking for a player that was more suited to an Ange system, and Frank is going to play differently, and therefore kind of utilize potentially a double pivot more than we've seen before. Yeah. So maybe we can do with two players that complement each other rather than an absolute destroyer. I mean, what's your?
Yeah, I think that's right. First of all, look, there's one point I need to make first of all, and that's to congratulate King Hoddle on using the word interregnum in his speech now, in his chat. Now that is not a word I've heard in a long time, but it was the interregnum between where we are now and us being linked with Morgan Gibbs White. So it's an absolutely brilliant word, and well done on that. But seriously, look, I'm going to go on what I'm hearing about where we're at, and that is that our principal target is Wharton. Now, remember, there's a homegrown issue here as well, because we're not over blessed with homegrown players. But our target is Wharton. I heard that we have increased our offer. We're prepared to go a fair way of where Palace are, but Palace wanting 75 million and most of it up front is too rich for us, and we pay less. We pay less, but pay a higher percentage as an upfront payment, or we'll pay more, but we want it over a longer period. But I mean, I'm hearing that we're bridging that gap, but it's slow. And Steve Parish, like Daniel Levy, they're tough negotiators. And the fullback position is Hayden Hackney. And I saw someone in the chat says he's a bit too inexperienced. I'd probably go with that. But I think there is a priority in that position to find a long-term player who is homegrown. And that to me makes perfect sense as well. The fullback positions are Polinia and Luis. And I don't think we're wildly keen on them. I think that we might use one as a stopgap, particularly if we need. We let someone like Bissouma go, sorry, I just turning my phone off there. As a stopgap, Polinia, for example, it might have been Tom who said in the chat, would only be a 12, 18 month period. And I think that's right. If we were to go for someone like Polinia, it's because we can't get a principal target over the line. And if we went, we would go on the basis of, for example, a 12-month loan, but no option. I can't see us going for a 31-year-old. That's just not the way we do business, and it doesn't fit the profile. Luis, maybe, but you see, I'm one of those that's not desperately bothered about our midfield. Other people are more worried. I do think we need someone in there if we're going to improve. But I think Bergvall, Gray, Sarr, Bentancur, even Bissouma, that's 5. And I've probably left somebody out of that. But if we had to start the season with them, that to me isn't a disaster. I think someone like, that's why I'm saying, if you're going for somebody like Wharton, he really does improve that option, that starting option, big time. And he does it for a number of years to come. Whether Luis and Polinia, who both have had injury problems as well, can do that when you're trying to build something better, I'm not convinced. So that's where I am. That's what I'm hearing from the gossip. And
yeah.
I'm not convinced that Bayern Munich would even accept a loan deal. I think they're trying to sell him outright.
They're trying to sell what, Stephen?
I said I can't imagine that Bayern would even accept a loan deal without an option or without some sort of back end deal where Spurs would promise to take him on. I just can't see that happening. I would probably just assume that they just want somebody to come in and buy him outright.
Yeah, that's fair.
For all the issues we're mentioning, issues that we're mentioning in terms of age, we're saying we don't think he's going to be the long-term thing. Then I don't see why Bayern would then loan him a year, lose more money. He's getting older.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. Fair point. Another name that was mentioned today, and Adrian, will come to you, was Kobbie Mainoo. That's another name that was. I mean, I know he's sort of been mentioned in the background a couple of times. What's your take on this? I know you put the banner in, so I was interested to see what your take was.
Yeah, just as a talking point. I mean, apparently he's only on 25 grand a week, wants 180k. Then you're in that the money's not the issue. I think with Kobbie Mainoo, it's game time issue. That's what the main thing is surrounding him. He's not getting the time. Man United are going to bring in more midfielders. He's still not going to get the time. He wants out. I understand that. That. Just on the Pauline and Louise, Spurs aren't interested in either of those. They've been in talks with Wharton since January, right? Maybe even before, to try and get a deal. We may not get it done in this window. It may go to next January or next summer, because although he hasn't played much time, Wharton's impressed a lot of people out there. I haven't seen that much of him. I really form an opinion personally, but yeah. I think we're looking, and Paratici's band's up as well now. Another talking point later. I think we're looking everywhere for a younger defensive midfielder, either a Hoyman with the Arsenal tattoo, either like Jashawi has been mentioned. You've got Larson been mentioned. There are loads out there, and to be honest. I don't mind a 25, 26-year-old you give a 5-year, 1-year option on top, 6-year contract to. I mean, at Juve, Luis is down tools. He wants to come back to and he would love to come to Spurs. So if we don't get no one, we can end up getting him. The same with Paulinho. But why buy Paulinho? If you're going to give 30 mil for him, what they want 35 mil, use that money and go and get someone who's as good that's younger. There are lots out there. I'd even take a punt on someone younger out there,
Yeah.
But because I don't think Wharton's serious in this window, unless somehow these negotiations go better than I expected. You know what I mean? But yeah. So
well, if you're playing the Spurs diehard take a shot game, then you need to have taken a shot because Beast of TH has come out with the classic oven ready. So if anyone was waiting for oven ready to be mentioned, it has in the chat. Beast of TH, take your shots, everybody. Big up to Callum, who's in the chat. Says evening, lads. Has anyone seen the update?
Callum.
With which update are you referring to, sir? I think if it's the Morgan Gibbs White, potentially, I think yes, we have. Mate.
I don't think I've seen anything else from you, Callum. But I read out the one about him, Morgan Gibbs White leaving the training ground. So if that's the one that you're talking about, yeah, I read it out.
Awesome. We'll move slightly further up the pitch because there's also rumours and there's been a bit of a wild chat going on in one of the WhatsApp groups about a certain Richarlison and whether he's actually a footballer or not. We'll come back to you, Luke. Striker options. Obviously, it was very nice bringing Kudus in, but obviously he's going to be more of a winger. He's going to be more of a supplier. I mean, I expect him to get a share of goals, but I think, if you're asking your winger to get the majority of goals, then you've got a bit of an issue up front, in my humble opinion. So obviously we've got, Solanke arguably is going to be your main number 9. Richie, for all his endeavour and for as as good as he was in the last couple of games that he needed to be in the Europa League, he certainly did a job that enabled us to progress to the final, regardless of what you think of him. So I will give him his dues. But there's rumours that he's heading out. Chances are he potentially, depending on if they've got the money, off to Brazil, maybe out to Turkey. I don't know. I mean, the writing's probably on the wall by all accounts, unless, even if he can stay fit. I think Frank might like a look at him, but the general consensus is he's not good enough and we really need to be sort of leveling up. So you got any thoughts on what you'd like us to do with that front line? And you can sort of extend that to the sort of Sunny debate as well, if you like, and we sort of talk about the everything up top. What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think it's a real tough one. I actually think that Richarlison kind of fits quite well in with a Frank sort of striker in terms of getting around the pitch, being good in the air, being physical, working hard. I can see that he can't trap a ball with a bat, but I get that. I do see that sometimes. He's so inconsistent. However, and this is the problem, is that when he's played, he's not fit, because he's been out injured so long. When he does get fit, he's out injured because he picks up an injury. And the only time where he's actually played a considerable amount of games, his goal record was like 10 in 10 or whatever it was. It was ridiculous. So I think he would be a weapon, but he's just not fit enough. I think if he was fit enough, I think it would be someone that would, and it's what Spurs need to worry about is priorities, and this is the problem. We've got so many players in this squad that you could say, look, they could leave and it wouldn't really impact us too much, but you can't get rid of all of them. So I'd be very surprised if both Richie and Sonny both left. I can't see a world in they both leave. I don't think Richie's going anywhere. I don't think there's the interest. I don't think there's the interest from him. I don't think if there was any interest, whether the money would be right for either him or us. So I just don't see how he leaves. The players that you brought up, the Leon player, if we could get him, he's more of a winger. I think he's a top player. But yeah, I just can't see it. I can't see them both leaving. I think Sonny should make his own decision. I think if he turns around and says he wants to stay, then Frank has to decide where that is, whether that's a squad player. I don't see him starting week in, week out. But Richie, I just don't see it. It's almost like ideally if we could go in and get a proper striker and everything else, but then we're looking at, as I've already mentioned, your defensive midfielder, another winger, another striker, a cover at fullback. We're not going to go and sign six 6 first team players. It's just not going to happen. So I think it's a case of priorities.
Interesting, fair play. So, Steve, do you see a world where we play 2 up front and Johnson comes into the front line more, as opposed to, do you see like a little and large up front? Because Frank's sometimes played a 2 up top, and I was wondering whether that might be something that he would consider doing. And I'll let you mull that over just for a second. I want to say thank you to Roy Parks, a new subscriber to the channel, and he says, I have a sneaky feeling that the Wharton situation is not dead. I would watch out for him at the end of the window. Langer likes to work behind the scenes. Let's see about our ambition. Thank you very much, Roy, new subscriber. It's always great to have you.
Welcome, Roy.
Steve, what's your thoughts on the front line? Am I being ridiculous to think that he might try and utilize Johnson to kind of make up for where Richie might lack if we can't get rid?
I would think so. Just considering that Thomas Frank used 2 up top in 40% of his games last year, right? It's what turned Brian Mbemo into a 20-goal scorer. So he does have success, success turning wingers that have a hard time playing that traditional winger role, hugging the touchline and moving them a little bit more inside. And of course, because Brendan Johnson pretty much did that last season, regardless of what he was asked to do, he seemed to float to the back post almost all the time, right? So I think it might be a natural progression for him to kind of play that false nine role. The question is whether or not he's actually fit for that type of role. I know a lot of people have thought of Brendan Johnson as a possible 10. I certainly don't see it. But that being said, it does make a lot of sense considering the natural progression of Brendan Johnson's career up to this point, right? I mean, let's understand he's like 22, 23. So the kid's not even reached his prime yet, right? So there's still a high development curve when it comes to him, right? And it's also something in consideration too for something that Luke was just mentioning, and I think that's like the worst kept secret in Tottenham Hotspur around Hotspur Way is the fact that Richarlison's absolutely brittle. The guy literally cannot stay on the guy can literally not stay on the pitch for longer than 3 weeks at best. 3 weeks before he picks up a new knock, and he's gone for 5 weeks, gone for 6 weeks. And so it's going to be a situation where, again, it's an absolutely huge risk for Tottenham to go another season in with him as their secondary striker, knowing that does anyone actually believe that Richarlison's capable of making 25 appearances this season? Right. So, I mean, it's like you're going to have to figure out a way to make adjustment. And that's where Brendan Johnson and even Matisse Tell comes into play here. Right. Because, Thomas Frank is not afraid to pull the trigger and roll with 2 up top.
Yeah, interesting. Richie is a 1 in 2, 3 striker. I think he's a 1 in 4, isn't he? Or I guess maybe when he's fit, he might be. He might be. But Zookeeper Tom says, bloody okay way to get away from the chat. Yeah, it has been pretty bonkers in the WhatsApp group, I will say.
But I would highly doubt that Richarlison would even allow a move away from Tottenham Hotspur, considering this is a World Cup year, right? And that is absolutely important for him to be a part of that 2026 Brazil World Cup squad, right? So I just don't see a situation where Richarlison's going anywhere. Interesting.
Ian, what's your thoughts on Richarlison?
I want him out. I think there's there just comes a point where you say I'm out of patience with him. There are ways of getting players out of clubs, and of course they're under contract. But simply saying you won't be registered and you won't be playing, or you're only playing an absolute emergency, you can sit in the stand and see if you get picked for the World Cup sitting in the stand. You can be pretty brutal, but there's a reality here. We can't keep buying players unless we're not Chelsea. And I mean, the way they're doing business is utterly ridiculous. And I read something earlier that they've done a £339 million share sale, which is presumably to the existing owners, which simply brings another £339 million into the club, money that they can spend on anything, including including more players. What the hell they're going to do with them, and why players keep queuing up to join them when they've got so many first team players is actually beyond me. But hey, that's where we are. But we can't. I think the plan would be, as I understand it, is to sell players like Basuma, like Richarlison, and Son, and raise. There'll probably be one or two other peripheral players as well, but to raise the best part of £100 million. Spend 200, which gives us 300 net spend. We're a little bit away from that yet, but of course you can't spend that money if you're a sensible club unless you've got players out the door in which you've got room in your squad to actually play, to actually pick them. And that's, I think, the problem that we've got at the moment. But I think, look, we all love Sonny. We all do. But there has been a gradual deterioration over the last couple of years. He is not going to get any better. There's been times when his game, I mean, even at Reading last week, he looked so far off the pace, it was actually scary.
Without a doubt.
So I would let Sonny go. Thank you for the memories. You'll always be in our hearts, but time to move on. Richarlison as well. Hi Jess, evening Jess. Richarlison as well. You've had enough chances. Time to move on. And Basuma as well, particularly if we are going to try and get someone like a Wharton in. That would be an absolutely, Brian Gill, Manor Solomon. See, that's where you.
Can you see potentially, Ian? Can you see Bentancur potentially? Because there's been murmurings that he's going to sign this contract for months or at least weeks, and it's still yet to materialise.
I would be very surprised if they let Bentancur go. I think he's one of those players that could really do a job, given a bit more freedom under Frank. I would be surprised, and I'd certainly be surprised if he was to be allowed to go, and we weren't getting at least one of Wharton, Hayden, Paulinho, or Luis. At least one, if we were going to let him go, because I think he can do a really good job. If I was picking the starting 11s tomorrow for the first match of the season, it would have Bentancur and Bergvall in that pivot position. That's where I am in terms of the names. Callum put a note up. He sent a note as well to the Diehards chat group. Now I don't know enough about these players, but Gusand, I think he's the Nice player. Is that right?
Gusand, yeah.
Is he plays the one who plays for Nice? I don't know much about Vipa or Calimendo. I can't tell you much about them, but that's apparently the three players we're chasing.
Yeah,
but that might indicate that we are getting players out the door. You also raised the question about playing Johnson further forward. Well, I think that's where when Thomas Frank wanted to sign Johnson for Brentford, I think that's exactly where he wanted him to play. And that's actually Roy Park just absolutely taking the words out of my mouth there. Suited as a striker, stroke false nine. That's where MGW comes into play. He fed John. Look, that's 1,000,000%. I can't. I just think tactically that's 100% right as to how he would see him playing. Well, maybe coming off the wing or playing as a second nine. Kulusevski as well might be one in mind for that role as well. So I think there's got all kinds of options. I do think there's all kinds of options, but we do need to get players out the door.
Yeah, absolutely. What's your thought on players out, Adrian? You're in agreement with the sort of, in agreement with these sorts of players that need to be shifted on?
If we bring these strikers up, it's the same with bringing the midfielders up. The only way we're bringing one in, we bring a midfielder, and it's because Basuma's gone, hopefully, right? In my opinion, right? If we bring a striker, and it's because either Richarlison's gone, we're bringing another one in, which now means that Lancashire and Scarlett are definitely going out on loan. So this is the situation. Out of these here, Vista looks like he's going to Newcastle. Well, he wants to come to Spurs, so he does want to come to Spurs, but we're not giving anyone an answer because we haven't shifted any players out yet, and that's the reason, right? We you know, as for Randall Kolo Muani, we tried to get last year. We wanted Juventus don't want to pay the money. They want another loaner for PSG, and PSG no, they want money for him. It would be a good buy, right? Vlahovic again at Juve, he's available. Now it gets interesting because I've watched two of these guys, watched videos. I haven't watched Georgi Mikutadze at Lyon, but Lyon are having a fire sale because they nearly went bankrupt. They've only just got their place back in the Europa League, which is going to court as well, right? And like they need to get money in. They are cash strapped. They need to get money in. Evan Gessend and Arnold Calamit. One thing about these two players, they are fast. They would give us fluidity up front. One of them came from PSG. I can't remember which one. I think it might have been Calamiendo. Might have come from PSG when he went to Rennes. They're fast players. I can't remember which one's got a better touch. One has definitely got a better touch than the other one. I've watched so many videos. It's like it's confusing. They look like options. Gessend or Calamiendo. Them two out of those two. The other guy that Callum mentioned, Viner, he played for the under-21s when England beat them in the final to lift the trophy. We don't really want another oven ready. The other two players are a bit more developed than he is. It's always a risk bringing a foreign player in. But yeah, so that's the striker option. So we've got a clear space. We got with the few academy players added to the squad, we've got 35 players. You know?
Yeah, we'll get into this banner because we've made a couple of banners for. Obviously, we've got two games coming up tomorrow. We've actually got 3 banners because there was enough to make 3 teams. So essentially, I mean, I think it's a nice problem to have. Absolutely, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they deal with that tomorrow. In actual fact, where are we?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, go on, Ian.
was while you're doing that, Drew. Calamiendo was he did come up through PSG's youth system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I thought so.
Yeah, so the lineup. Well, I mean, these were sort of some potential lineups for the matches tomorrow, and this really just goes to show the amount of players we sort of got on hand at the moment. Because you could do this lineup potentially versus Luton. Obviously, for anyone that can't see the screen, you've got Vicario, Udogi, VDV, Romero, Porro, Bentancur, Sarr, Donnelly, and then either Son or Moore, Solanke or Kudus. Meanwhile, Wickham, you could do Kinski, Spence, Vuskovic, Danzo, Gray, Basuma, Bergvall, Devine, and then Tell, Richarlison or Lancashire, and Odeber. And then you've still got an overflow of Austin, Gunter, Scarlett, Abbott, Olasesi, Takai, Solomon, Madison, who we've told has started training again now, which is great. Yang, Kulusevski, who admittedly is still a little ways off, and Hill, I think, who is still a little bit of a ways off. But I mean, it's a great problem to have. But we're right. We need to sort of start prioritizing getting a couple of players out the door. And I want to ask as well, because Moore, there's sort of rumours going around that potentially he may be due for a loan. I've been harping on about not being able to, or we potentially can't loan players because you've got to give them 3 consecutive years to be part of this club trained shenanigans. I said last week that I think it'll be just one of those things where we get our ducks in a row, we get enough of those club trained players, and then it won't even be a thing and it won't matter. And it will just be another one of those things that we came in line for and then turns out to be something that we don't need to worry about. But for the time being, I mean, is Moore young enough to go out on loan and then come back and then still get the 3 consecutive years to be considered club trained? Or do we need to, is it a thing? Do we even need to worry about it? Because it's only for the Champions League. It's not even for the Premier League. So kind of where's the priority? Do we need to loan players to get experience? Do we need to keep them so that they're club trained? Where are we at with it, do you think?
I think it depends on what they're going to be able to do, and are they going to be able. Let's use Vuskovic as an example. I think if he stays, he also becomes a club trainer, from what I believe. but he looks like he's able to make an impact. He's got the body, he's got the physicality. He looks like he's able to play games in the net. Mikey Moore's simply not ready. He's unbelievable, and if he gets the right development, he will be unbelievable. But he's just physically not ready. I've been saying it since all of last season when Ange was being slaughtered that he should be playing more. He should be playing more. He should be doing it. Moore's not physically ready for the Premier League. Every time he come up against a solid physical man at centre, at right back, he struggled, and that's not a slight on him. Some 17-year-olds are not built like men, whereas others are. You look at Wayne Rooney, who was was bigger than most men at 16, 17, and Moore's not that character. So Moore needs a loan move. He needs to be playing. He needs to be playing games. I think last season was perfect for his development. He was in and around the first team. He was playing games here and there. He see the good stuff, but he needs to play consistently. So we need to be really, really careful with this whole club trained issue, because if we want to start competing and being in Europe all the time, this is going to be a problem we have year on year. So therefore, we have to make sure we're developing these players correctly. But it is a tough one, because you can keep him around and then he doesn't become the player you want him to, because he hasn't developed, because he hasn't played the games. You send these players out on loan, they might not reach their quota, so then where are you at with it? But you've got to, I say this, you've got to take gambles. You do have to take gambles, but it seems other clubs do it calculated, whereas we just go, I don't know, let's just see, let's just let's pull it out of a hat and we'll go from there. So there needs to be a good understanding. The loan moves, the loan system, and the way that we've operated it has been absolutely disgraceful for years. Last year, you could argue we kind of got it right. There was loads of players that had good moves, played a lot of games. You look at Scarlett, you look at Divine, the amount of games that clubs that they've gone to and they've played 1 or 2 times, they've sat on the bench all season, they just haven't developed. So we need to play that game very, very correctly. I think he should get a loan move. Personally, Going back to the numbers thing, yes, it's brilliant in a way that we have a big squad, but I'd argue that a lot of them are not good enough, or a lot of them are kind of the same sort of player. So if it's not Odebear, it's Solomon. If it's not Solomon, it's Tell, and every single one of them have got people that like and people they don't like in terms of the fan base. So we're not a Chelsea where you go, well, actually, we can take out 11 and bring in 11, and they're still finishing top 10, top 6 in the Premier League. A lot of our players, I think, are simply not good enough. They need to be shipped out, and we need to start. I'm bored of constantly buying squad players. We need to improve the 11. The 11 become squad players. Therefore, you become a better team. That's what I think we need to do.
Correct. Yeah.
Go on, Steve. Carry on.
Yeah, no, I was going to say the interesting thing about development is development can't happen unless that player has minutes. And that was the biggest problem with Mikey Moore last season. Whatever the excuses were, he had that mysterious illness, whatever the case may be. And then even when he came back, he still didn't get any minutes, right? Which is such a detriment to his development. And unless you have a defined role for Mikey Moore this season, then he should automatically go on loan. As a matter of fact, I think the player actually even asked for a loan. And so at that point, you almost have to err to the side of the player. But the reality is, if this is going to be another season where he gets maybe that one appearance per month and it's like 15 minutes in a substitution effort, you're doing absolutely nothing but actually being a detriment to his development. And to everything that Luke said, he was 100% correct, right? Mikey Moore still is at least 3 years away from consistently performing at the Premier League level. Yes, he's got skill, but skill doesn't necessarily operate well against experience of this league and the pace of this league and the physicality of this league, right? And so if you're in a good situation where he goes to a championship side where they're actually a very good team and he's going to be able to compete for starting minutes and help that team in a promotion battle, that is absolutely a benefit to the player, because not only is he going to be starting every day, but now he understands what it takes to actually win at a very high level. And that's something that right now, that's not just a Mikey Moore issue, but that's also a Berthal issue. That's a Fuskovic issue. That's an Archie Gray issue, right? Maybe those guys are a little bit more ahead of their development, but the reality is right now in that developmental curve, you also have to figure out how to win. And you're not going to be able to figure that out if you're making one appearance per month, and all you're doing is training, and maybe you get a U21 start here and there just to kind of keep the keep them moving. I mean, at the end of the day, the fiduciary responsibility is to make sure that these guys are going to be able to compete at the Premier League level and help this team win trophies. And as of right now, Mikey Moore just is not ready to contribute. And so at that point, if that means a championship loan move or a League One loan move, I'm 100% for that.
Yeah. Ian, Adrian, thoughts?
Go on, Ian.
Yeah. Someone made a comment in the chat about if Mikey Moore's not ready for the Premier League, then he's not ready for the lower leagues either, because the physicality there is stronger. I think to some extent I agree, but I disagree, because one of the things I think he's found when he's come up against Premier League defenders is it's not just the physicality, it's then their wherewithal, their know-how. I think he's found players. There was one very early, and I can't remember where it was, whether it was Ipswich or somewhere like that, where he had a chance right in front of goal and hit it quite well, and the goalkeeper saved it. And he's looking like, how did he save that? And it's like, this is a professional goalkeeper of maybe 28 years of age, who has been there, read the book, bought the T-shirt, seen the movie, etc., who managed to make the saves. That's what you get at Premier League level. Whereas playing under 21s or whatever with a 19-year-old goalkeeper maybe doesn't get it. And that's the kind of thing I think he's been experiencing as well. So maybe playing somewhere up against perhaps less able players. Whether in the Championship or League One, whether a less physical league like France even, or Belgium, for example, where Vuskovic and Devine were, somewhere like that. Even Scotland, Aberdeen or Celtic, he might actually flourish in that kind of environment. But I suspect if he's not going to get game time, it's absolutely right that he should go somewhere, because he's still got a lot of bulking up to do. The boy's not 18 till August, isn't it? Next month.
August.
It'll be 18 next month. He's still growing. He's still got links to McCallum's there. Links to Dortmund are on a permanent basis. I would be desperately disappointed if we gave up on him as a boy just turned 18 to sell him. I would be really disappointed in that. That's not what the academy is about. The academy is about bringing young players on and developing them as first team regulars and international footballers, not just dumping them at the first, if they're not instant superstars. So yeah, I don't think he's ready yet, and I think maybe being able to get him to play somewhere else where he's getting regular game time makes a lot of sense. Excuse me.
Yeah, Adrian. Other than, I think, given how he performed last week, what's that, mate?
I'm disagreeing with the whole panel on Mikey Moore here.
Well, go for it.
I've seen enough of this player. No, I could be. If he's going to get the game time, he made 19 appearances last season. Didn't amount to a fantastic amount of minutes. He did come off at one half when things weren't going. Well, I forget it was against like. But we see. He scored against Elfsberg. He had that 20-minute spell against AZ Alkmaar, didn't he, on the left when he looked really brilliant. He was good pre-season against Aberdeen. I know it's Aberdeen scored and all that. Like, I watched him play. I watched all the trophy-winning seasons, the double trophy wins of our under-21s in play. This kid is special. We haven't seen what I've seen for the under-21s on a consistent basis when he's come and played for the team. I believe he's oven ready. I believe he's ready. And with games that will show that. But I will agree with the rest of the guys, like, if he's not going to get the game time, depending on who we get in, then you don't want to stop his development even further. He's going to be a superb footballer. Well, he is already, but he's going to be a sensation. Right? So he may end up at West Brom with Brian Mason or with Chris Davies at Birmingham. If you're going to send him out, you've got to send him somewhere where they know the player, so they're going to play him. Right. Do you
think there's a chance that they might use Birmingham and West Brom as some sort of? I don't want to necessarily say feeder clubs, Yeah,
And we're
would you
still-
you think they're going to target potentially because of the coaches and because of potentially how they want to play? I mean, it won't necessarily be, you know, a multi-club ownership, but do you think they might look to those coaches up there and say, come and take a couple of these kids and nurture them a little bit, because they'll be obviously with familiar hands, right?
Yeah, you've also got McKenna at Ipswich. He was ex-Spurs
Yep.
coach as well.
Yeah.
So there are options if he goes out. I'm waiting to see. Like I say, he's not 18 to August. Then he's due to sign a new pro contract with Spurs to keep everyone's eyes off of him. Because at 16, you can sign a 2-year scholarship as a player, but with only a 1-year professional contract. That's so those players are not exploited. And that's when we and other clubs go out and nick each other's players. That's at that age when they're vulnerable to be snapped up from you, right? So we do it, other clubs do it. Fair enough, right? That's what happens. And the other mad fact is, when he's 18, for those that haven't said this before in other chats, he can actually change with the first team in the first team dressing room, because, like, due to Child Protection Act, he's not allowed to change in the same dressing room as the first team because he's not 18 years of age. It sounds a bit bizarre, you know, but yeah, he'll sign the contract. He wants to stay with Spurs. Look, he's won a Europa. Look, he's won one of these, right? So he's not only got the T-shirt, he's got the medal. So
Yeah.
like, yeah,
It's crazy to think he's got to be one of the youngest players to win a Europa League, surely. You would think.
Yeah,
I might have to give that a little look up. Are there any other players, Adrian? Because I know you've obviously followed the under-21s and the kids. Is there any other than Vuskovic, who I think, I mean, he just looks like a man already. It's ridiculous. But other
you
than
want
him
his kid,
potentially, I
love it,
want
yeah.
the shirt. I want the T-shirt
Yeah.
for sure. But other than him, are there any to coin? I'm not going to say it because do we have any
don't use a
players?
cliche, right? Don't use a
I
cliche.
don't want to say up and ready because I can't do another shot. But are there any other players? I mean, Donnelly, I like the look of him, but I keep on being told he's too slow on the half turn and he's going to get found out. Are there any other players that spring to mind in terms of players that could do a job for us? Worst comes to worst, that you would put money on, or do you think they all need to go out for a little bit more experience, or you think anybody else could step up? Because I was hoping Dorrington might make the step up before maybe anyone, and he's obviously gone out on loan again to Aberdeen.
There was lots I watched, and the under-21s were a joy to watch in their double-winning season. But you know, when you're watching them, because like you think, oh, they're all good and all that, but you know, realistically, that if only one or two will make it. I mean, most of these players will be sold, so don't get too emotionally attached to them. Enjoy watching them play, but they're not going to come through. I mean, we can dream that, like when Ferguson had the youngsters in, which were blended with older players. I mean, he brought through the two Nevilles, didn't he? Then you had Nicky Butt, Paul Scholes, Beckham and Giggs, right? 6 players with 5 blended players. They had Pallister and Bruce and Schmeichel, blah, blah, and up front. Right, so we can, I mean, I would love to think, I suppose a lot of Spurs fans would think, without getting, but it's a bit romantic to think that, like, we're going to get a group of 5 or 6 come through. The 3 I would pick at the moment would be Vuskovic, Mikey Moore, and definitely Jamie Donnelly. I mean, like, and he's got the physicality. I mean, he came from Northern Ireland, actually plays for Northern Ireland, could have qualified for England. Wayne Burnett converted him as a striker into a 10. He's got a fantastic killer forward ball on him. And if you've watched any Orient games, I know they're in a couple of leagues lower, see what this kid can do. I mean, if I was keeping 3 players going next season, it would be more Donnelly and Vuskovic. The rest go out on loan. But that's just my opinion on it. Because like, I'm not worried about Donnelly's speed. He don't need the speed. He's got the vision. He's got such good vision. Players with vision, you know, make time for themselves. Like, they see things, know what they're doing. So no, I'm not worried about Donnelly at all. But we'll see. He may go out on loan as well. I mean, Vuskovic may go on loan. I mean, because we haven't looked at Toka Katai yet. You know, who's just been brought in. So, and unless he's going to go out loan, we've got 6 pre-season games, right, before we play PSG in the Super Cup. We've got Luton and Wickham Saturday, haven't we? Then we've got Arsenal and Hong Kong. That's 3. Then you've got the Newcastle in South Korea, and we're going to play a K-League All-Stars because it's like a Couping series. That's 5. And then we got the game with Bayern away in their little mini trophy thing there, pre-seasons. So we got 6 games. So I'm expecting a lot of these players to get game time. And we don't need to see so much of the players that we know what they're like already. If you know what they can do, you can put a few youngsters in these games, give them at least a half in all these games coming up, then have a look and make a decision. But you would have to loan them out before the transfer window finished. But I don't see the hurry in loaning them out yet. Not until we're really near the end of pre-season. You can have sort of agreements in place with clubs saying, look, if we decide to go on loan, he can go to you, but that decision's not going to be made. I mean, and the league goes into 2 weeks in the season, doesn't it? Because it's September the 1st. And the league starts on Saturday, August the 16th. So it goes 2 weeks in the season just to keep us in line with Europe. And even then, the Turkish and Saudi transfer windows go on a bit longer, right? And I think the Scandinavians because they're winters, right? So, yeah, it's a wait and see. Wait and see with the loans of these. I hope, look, we want a pathway. Stuart Lewis has been promoted, isn't he, to be the pathway guy at the club now. So you would, well then let's see a pathway. So you're looking at Moore, Donnelly. It might be that Moore goes out on loan and Donnelly comes in, because at the moment Donnelly and Devine have got the chances to show what they've got, because Madison and Kula aren't fit to play in the 10 role unless you play Odebert there, which Ange did try, or Kudus because he would like to play through the middle. Everyone wants to play a midfielder through the middle because you see more of the ball as a footballer. That's why I like playing there. But yeah, so we're going to have to wait on that, wait further into this pre-season to see what happens. Unless they made a decision already, but over Moore they might have. But we all want to see more of Vashkovic. It's actually pronounced Vash. But we want to see more of him after his performance, and we all want to see what Toka Kataya's got in him as well, So back to you.
About the Moore thing, I think what's
forgotten
that he come from under 18s football, and then he didn't have an under 21s career. He came straight into the first team, and then he dropped down and played the odd games. I remember thinking it's like a year or so ago. I've just had a look on Transfer Market. I know they're not the be all and end all, and they're probably, but he's nearly played more first team appearances than he has under 18s or under 21s. That's what he sort of went from under 18s football straight into the first team, and then dropped down to play the under 21s on a few games. Like, he's not played against anyone physically bigger than him. So that's the reason why I think he needs to be able to play against these players consistently. And going back to the point about him dropping down and it being more physical, he's a clever player. He'll have more space. The players won't be able to read him as much. Whereas when he's coming up against seasoned Premier League pros, they know every trick in the book. They've already got it. So when he drops down the leagues, it isn't necessarily about it being championship. The league's not really the problem. It's the fact of playing against men, being able to use your body, that sort of stuff. And he is quite slight. So that's why I think he's not had a lot of football at a good adult or high level in terms of most of his football's either under 18s or coming off the bench for the first team. That's why I think that the others are more ahead of him personally. But in terms of who's better, I still think, other than Barnett, he's the best that we've got by quite a distance.
What about it's quite an enigma, Alfie Devine? I think that might be. Is that Brian Daigle's boy? Big up Brian. I see him in the chat. Good to see you, mate. Good to see you.
We'll catch up. We'll have a chat at some point soon. Haven't actually seen you on a stream or whatever for a while. Yeah, you should have Brian if he's watching. He's been a big Alfie Devine fan for since Alfie Devine. Where did he come
from? And MGW.
He come from Wigan, didn't he?
Yeah.
He came from. He's the boy who came from Wigan at the Adrian, you may know. I'm worried he's not really. He's
had a good loan at Port Vale.
He's not really developed as well as he. Look, these players in his under 20, they're all going to have football careers and be millionaires. It probably won't be with Spurs, but I'm not going to get sentimental over them. You want the odd one to come through. That's what the academy's for, and it's also there to make money.
You know, like Chelsea's and Man City's has made money. You know, Divine, he had a good at Port Vale. Then he went with Phillips to Portsmouth, and then they changed the manager. And Phillips kept playing, and Divine didn't play, so he lost half a season of his development. Which I get pissed off when I hear this about the youngsters going out. Then he's gone out to Westerlo with Vuskovic when Vuskovic left the Polish side and come together. He's done all right out there. I can see us selling him, to be honest. I like the player. You know, I do like the player. I think for his age and that, he's good. Everyone remembers the goal he scored as a 15-year-old against Marine in the FA Cup. He's going to be sold, I think. There's rumours he's going to go out on loan to Millwall at the moment, or they want to buy him. As we are with players now, I could even see us selling him. Sorry, Brian. If you, I like the player as much as you.
I just think I
think he's going to go. I think he's going to be sold.
Yeah, just from a number standpoint at the two different positions, right? I just think from where it stands right now, Jamie Donnelly and Luka Vuskovic are probably going to make the first team come week 1 of the Premier League, just based on the fact that the numbers. There's not a lot of depth at those positions. And when you consider that James Madison is probably going to come through the door, Kulusevski will eventually come through that injury door, and Morgan Gibbs-White will probably come through that door as well too. It doesn't necessarily leave a lot of room for Alfie Devine, even if he has a pretty solid preseason. I think that all that does is just make his value go up for the eventual sale that I actually see coming.
Interesting. Nita has a question coming in here. Says, how many matches in our senior team do you think we should give maybe 2 or 3 academy players for us to build, as well as buying in ready players? So I guess saying how many academy players. So yeah, basically along the lines of what we've been thinking, maybe 2 or 3 to sort of come in and supplement the rest of the squad. So Donnelly, Vuskovic, and potentially an other. And then King Hoddle says he can't. Here we go. Can't see Divine. Oh. Where's my thing? Can't see Divine becoming a regular Spurs player. Sorry, Brian. Everyone's saying sorry, Brian. We're all very sorry, Brian. I can't believe we've actually been going for an hour and 15 minutes already. We usually plug the channel a little bit before now. So, Adrian, do you just want to give a sort of brief plug?
Yeah, sure. Well, Spurs Diehards have been going just over a year now. We're doing great. We've got a good following. We've got about 200 live viewers in here now watching us, which is excellent for a Friday night when you should all be out on the lash, really enjoying yourselves and not in here. And we started off with a Spurs group that I started on Facebook when the stadium opened 6 years ago. That's got 14,500 members. Wish we could get them all over here. But Facebook's a different media platform, and people, I don't know, they seem to stick where they are. We've got a page with the videos go out on the page, obviously, but that's only been just started. 300 members on that, and we're on XCOM, and we've got Spurs Diehards and XCOM's about 3,250. That hasn't been going that long, grown ever so quickly, and the videos go out there, and I'm sure a lot of people are watching on XCOM as we speak. Our shows go out every Tuesday, Friday, and Sundays. Ian above there, my co-owner, he hosts Sunday shows, and I usually co-host with him, because that way we guarantee two of us, and 2 of us can run a show if guests should fail to turn up. Tuesdays, I host a show. Tom will be the other admin, will be hosting with me during the season. He's just got a newborn, so he's pushed for time. He's very busy. He will co-host with me Tuesdays or Wednesdays. We might switch to Wednesdays because we don't know what date. I haven't looked at the dates. I've got the dates, but I haven't looked at the days that European Champions League games are going to be on, so we will be doing shows Tuesday and Wednesdays. If I'm at the game and Tom's not going and I'm not meeting him at the game, then obviously he'll host a show while I'm rushing back from the stadium and things like that. So obviously Drew hosts Friday, usually with me, and Ian comes on if he's not swanning it in Spain, right? Soaking up the rays and drinking the wine, you know what I mean? So yeah. So we're fully stocked. We've got 4 excellent hosts. Yeah, I have to build myself up.
What I can't see, Adrian, I'm actually looking at it on the X.com live feed, and there's a good number watching on that. Is where you can get into like and subscribe to the channel if you're using X.com to watch.
Well, if you click right. if you go on the Spurs Diehards on XCOM, if you use that platform, I mean, some people only use YouTube, they don't use Facebook or XCOM. I get that, right? But if you use various platforms, you can join the Spurs Diehards group on Facebook. You'll find that easy enough. The XCOM the same. It's at Spurs Diehards, and then below it you'll see a little logo which has got part of the 2 Dares to Do sign. So what they've done on Twitter, they've started communities. Now, the advantage of the communities is that if you join the community, we've got about 17 because I only started it last week. If you join the community, instead of your post being lost with all the other posts when you go on XCOM, if you're in the group, all the posts are in the community group. So, like, then you'll see them. And everyone knows that I bombard every group we've got. I bombard with posts anyway. I've got the time because I'm retired, right? So I do that. So, yeah, so guys watching, 200 of you watching, whatever, if you look in the bottom right corner, you'll see a subscribe button. If you hit the subscribe button, you can subscribe to the channel. We are taking memberships now. If you want to join, there's 3 types of membership. You can join us there. Big up to you. Big up to everyone who's watching us on the platform. Big up to everyone in the chat and those you asking questions. And what amazes me, a big up to those you that watch us on playback. I think that's just amazing as well. Like, and with that, I don't think I've forgotten to thank everyone. I think I thank God.
I think you've done it.
Back to you, Drew.
What do you?
Sorry, Ian, were you about to come in and say something there?
Callum said about him being tied to Friday nights, to Sunday nights. I thought we agreed. I can't remember what it was, but I certainly threw in a Big Mac meal and to go large as well for your exclusivity clause. So I think that's a done deal. And if not, then I'll have Marinakis after you telling
It's a bomber. It's a bomber. Done deal.
Drew, I wasn't offered a Big Mac. What's all this about?
I know, right? I had some cheeky chicken nuggets on standby, but you were so eager to come on. I ate them. I didn't need to send them over. I had it for myself.
Yeah. I'm gonna pay hard to get next time.
Yeah, it's too late now, mate. Too late now.
What is that? What a comment! What a comment by Nita.
What's this? Who's that? This one.
Like, yeah, we don't give young players a chance because I could have sworn last season that Matisse Dell got a run out, Odebear got a run out, Bergvall got a big run out, Archie Gray got a run out, and I would probably assume that those players are going to continue to get minutes this season on top of Vuskovic and possibly Donnelly as well too. Just because they're not academy players doesn't mean that we don't have a young core of young players that are getting absolute significant minutes at the Premier League level.
I just wonder how many, because I don't know the number offhand. How many players under the age of 21 walked out of the stadium in Bilbao with a Europa League winners medal? I bet there was at least 6 and maybe 8 or 9 walked out with a winners medal. And,
more Ajayi,
boys have played.
More Ajayi and Scarlett got one because all 3 of them scored against Elfsberg. So those 3 got one.
Oh, absolutely.
Lancashire would have got one.
Lancashire got one.
A lot.
Scarlett, Scarlett. That's 4. And that's without the kids. Is that the same?
Bergvall, Gray, Odebear. I don't know if Odebear played in them.
And Tell scored in one of them games. He got a medal.
Yeah. I mean,
That's
I was at that Effensburg game. There were 3 goal scorers. Combined age was less than mine.
Yeah.
3 goal scorers.
You're making me feel good here.
Yeah, well, it's making me feel old. I haven't even reached 50 yet. Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they came through the academy or not, just because they came with a price tag. It still doesn't mean that we still did not give significant run out minutes to young players that are probably going to be the cornerstone of this team within the next 5 years as well too. So I just don't understand. I just do not understand this fascination with academy players when every single team in the Premier League uses their academy as a way to pad profit when it comes to their transfer budgets.
And young Demola Ajayi, who scored that 1-2 goal against Elfsberg, has already scored 4 goals for Doncaster.
Is he really?
Yeah.
I've contacted a Doncaster fan and asked him to come on my channel and just give some regular updates. And I was like, how's he getting on? And he was like, I have no idea how we've got him. That was his response today. He was like, I have no idea how we've got him. And I went, well, to be fair, he made it.
Notts County must have felt the same way about George Abbott. So I'd like to see him given a couple of these games in midfield, because he was captain of the under-18s, was pushed forward into the under-21s, plays in midfield, but he can also play as a centre-back. And let's see what he can do, you know.
But that's right, exactly what you just mentioned earlier, in terms of we keep buying these 18-year-olds, so therefore they take the slots of the 18-year-olds. That's unfortunately, that is the devil. That's what we're playing with at this moment in time. The big clubs, when they're bringing through their young players, they're not going and signing 19-year-olds. They're going and signing 22, 23-year-olds who are ready-made, and that's when they're integrating their youth team. But unfortunately, we're not doing that. So the problem is we're playing a long game, but you won't know if it's successful until you're 3-4 years down the line. And if it's wrong, then you've wasted 3-4 years. That's the problem we've got. And you're exactly right. All of the opportunities that we would be giving your Moores, your Donnellys, they're going to your Bergvalls and your Greys, because they're the ones that at the moment are on a better level. And also, if they continue and stay, they're also going to be club trained, because
we're bringing the quality in, Luke, because and they're maturing quickly, because Williams Barnett and Tynan Thompson, the left winger, who I picked out, I thought this kid's got something about him when I watched him in the game. He takes on people for fun on the left. They've just been pushed out of the under 16s and 17, straight into the under 18s now. They're going straight in there. Barnett looks. I mean, it's at that level though. I mean, we get excited because they're exciting to watch, but whether they make it or not, who knows? You know. So they've got Tyrus Hall, what a ball carrier. I mean, like the cross between Dembele and like Gaza, really. But the point is, he blotted his copybook because he had a row with Ange, one of these players that wants to run before he can walk or thinks he deserves first team. You know, Dylan Candy did that. He didn't even go out on loan. He went up to Blackburn and then to Scotland and all that. Same thing happened. Some of these players, like that, they're impatient. They're too impatient. They've got the praise, it's gone to their heads or whatever, or maybe they just believe they deserve to be given the chance now, when the coaches think, no, wait another year or whatever, you know. And you've got young Byfield,
we're going to
centre back with a rave about. Junai Byfield is another one. Yeah, go on. I'm going on.
Well, no, I was just going to say we're going to bid Ian a good night. He's reached his quota for the evening.
Yeah,
he's got to be tucked in.
I've done my quota. I got an early start, and I've got a show on Sunday night. I will plug my show on Sunday.
Yeah, for sure.
I will as well.
Sunday, I'll no doubt have Callum on with latest news, and I'll have Tom on, and maybe try and find one more as well. We'll see. Otherwise, it's just going to be the same old, same old. Adrian, I suppose you'll be there again, won't you?
Yeah. I'll be promoting the show like that.
It's those Big Macs you keep feeding him in.
Yeah, no, I'm winding him up. Thanks to everybody in the chat for the comments, and particularly the support as well. It's good to see some debate as well, particularly about the low knees, but people bigging up the channel. And there's a lot of you in the chat that are here absolutely every week without fail, and it's just absolutely wonderful. So Horlicks for Ian. Yeah, thanks, Brett. Absolutely. Right, so I'll knock off there, and I will see as many of you as possible on Sunday night. So thanks Luke, as well for coming on. Brilliant debut. Brilliant debut.
Thanks, Ian. Appreciate you, mate.
Catch you all later. Take care.
Have a good one.
All the best. Bye.
Daniel Knighty brings up a point, and I think this kind of follows on from maybe what you were saying, Steve. So even though you slate our club using the academy to make PSR profit, would you not at least like to see the club make some money from the academy? City and Chelsea essentially do it. You know, what's wrong with it? And there's nothing wrong with it, right? I mean, I think that's the kind of the bread and butter. Like, we've got to come to terms with the fact that not all of these kids are going to make it. And you know, if you can get 5, 8, 10 million, like we've said before, for a couple of them, then it helps to keep the lights on for the academy. Like one half decent player out of the academy could bring on another generation of kids from a lower age group, right?
Well, absolutely, right. This club preaches self-sustainability, doesn't it? That's the business mantra. Self-sustainability, right? And yet, for whatever reason, throughout this course of Enoch's tenure, the academy has just kind of been that little throwaway that little throwaway thing that they're kind of obligated to keep. They don't necessarily take it seriously. And maybe every once in a while, so somebody will graduate and make their way up to the first team. But for the most part, instead of using the academy in the correct manner, which is using it as a profit arm, whether it's self-sustainability within the academy or just padding your transfer budget, just for VSR purposes, right? That's, as far as I'm concerned, that's there's a reason why Spark teams continue to do that. Just saying.
Yeah. I mean, I spent much of my misspent youth in Gillingham in the Medway Towns, up the Gills, Priestfield Stadium. And I just think to myself, and this goes just to Rainman's point here, says, I suspect there might be a lot of kids are looking up and seeing that there's no pathway to the first team. But another way to look at it would be that even though these kids aren't, and I bring up Gillingham for a reason, because our academy and them getting an education there is surely better for their progress than being somewhere like a Gillingham or somewhere like that in the lower leagues. Like, this is a two-way street. And I know there's not always going to be a pathway to our first team, but we are still in part doing a lot to help a generation of footballers hone a craft and go out and earn a living at another Premier League team or at a championship team or a League One team or a League Two team. Like, they're going to get what ultimately, I guess, what they deserve in terms of the hard work they put in. And, in some instances, it's just going to be down to luck and genetics. Some people are just born with it and some aren't. But it's not just, they're not just there kicking a ball around a field going, oh, we're never going to make it. They're still learning football, and they're still learning a lot more, and we are giving them something. Do you know what I mean? I don't know how anybody else feels. Like, it's not just that there's no pathway, right?
Not making it at Spurs is not making it. That's not it. And also you say like that, say for instance they go straight to the level that they're supposed to be at. Let's use Gillingham as an example. We're going to take them to with that 5-year training, we're going to take them the league above. So that's what it's all about. Players are not brought in at Spurs. Unfortunately, the higher you go, academies are not made to bring in players to the first team at your Manchester Cities, at your Man Uniteds, then that's not what they're here for. They're here to be able to bring in the odd one that might make it, and then carry on when you sell like your Winks off and your skip off. That covers your academy costs for God knows how long. What you need to imagine is how many people, like Spurs, even though we finished 17th last year, we was the 17th best club in the whole of the country. There's only 16 clubs that actually finished higher. So when you actually work it out, there is still the percentage that are going to make it into the Premier League is such a small number. And that number decreases the higher you go up. So Leighton Orient, for instance, they'll be developing youngsters because they want to sell them on for a profit, which will then increase their revenue. Spurs are worried about bringing in more and more profits all of the time to make sure that the academy, on the odd occasion, we get another Harry Kane. And then there might be another one that comes along in 15 years' time. It's all about sustainability. And that's why the rules were brought in, to try and increase the need to have young players and club players, because the higher you get, the harder it is to make it. So it's a tough one to take. But if you want to be all about academy and you want to be all about that, you're better off supporting a lower league team, because they're going to keep promoting their academy. That's what it's all about. But they have to be to such an unbelievably high level to come through at Spurs. Like I remember there was interviews with like Spanish kids and things like that were talking about Winks and Skip, saying these guys are another level. Like Winks and Skip at 16, 15. There were people like Spain, Germany's talking about these kids as being unbelievable. And now look, they're a laughing stock of the fan base. This is the kind of level we're talking about. It's such a high level, it's ridiculous.
We just brought in Oliver Bowes and Max McFadden from Leeds, right? Why do they want to come to Spurs? Well, when Paratici restructured the academy, because our academy was pence, right? Dean Rastrick left. and they did away with the old pay structure because it was considered that you can't give kids too much money, it will spoil them. Really? Well, we weren't getting the best crop. Now we're getting the best crop. And it's not about whether they make it at Spurs, because the under-16s with William Barnett and Thompson, they won the League Cup this year, right? The under-21s won 2 trophies. When you're winning trophies with your academy, other young players want to come with you. You've got the added incentive of that of coming. You've got a chance of winning a trophy. You're with a well-named club, a big club, so you're going to be more in the shop window. You're going to be seen a lot more playing. You get a mention of Chris Riggs at Sunderland, who's a very good young player, you know, and these little clubs, because every club's academy's got that one player at least that's good, that everyone likes to look at. But then when you know Spurs have got a top-notch academy, people are going to come and watch your players. You might come watching for a midfielder and a left back might take your eye or something like that. You know, you might want to get a loan for that, or you might want to buy him. There is so much more. It's not all about the pathway. We all want to dream and be romantic and think we'll do the Alex Ferguson and bring 6 through at once. I do. We all do. We'd all like to see that. This is the best crop of youngsters I've ever seen at this football club. Yeah, it is the best. But realistically, 2 or 3. I mean, and Vaskovic wasn't part of that, right? Realistically, I can see definitely Mikey Moore will make it, as will Donnelly. I don't care if people think he's slow on the half turn. When I look at videos and I'm watching players, I look for 3 things in these videos because the players always look good when you're watching videos. I look for players with vision who move the ball quickly, can make things happen. And Mikey Moore does that. Donnelly does that. You know, and I'm talking about midfielders and forwards now, not defenders. Different aspects to their game. So yeah, so the academy is like there are diverse opportunities for players that come into our academy. There are. One's winning trophies, 2 is putting yourself out there, you know. And so like that's why they want to come. I mean, there's so many youngsters want to come to Spurs Academy now. 3 years ago, that wouldn't have happened.
And just going back to Rayman's point about 18-year-olds want to play in the Premier League, and if so, where are Chelsea youth players? Where are they coming through? They've got a squad of 75 players that are all 50, 60, 70 million pound players. Unfortunately, the way that we think kids think, they don't think like that. A lot of them, unfortunately, are thinking, how much money am I going to make? They're not caring where they make it, as long as they can make it.
Right.
When you've got an 16, 14, some of them are even being signed at 12 now. When at 12, they're being offered 4, 5, 6 grand a week, and their parents have got jobs that are great. And it's not. This isn't how it's viewed anymore, unfortunately, because they're good. Right. That's the bottom line. Like if that was the case, and I keep saying it, I don't understand why. I'm not talking about youth players now. I'm talking about pros. Why does anyone want to go to Chelsea? Why do you want to fight with 15 players all in your position? Because that's just what happens. That's what everybody wants. They want the money. They want a long contract. That's what sort of happens. So, yeah, it's not viewed as we think it. It's not as black and white. Youth football and men's football, they are completely different. The requirements, what are needed, is all completely different. And also, different players are different as well. You can, like young goalkeepers, for instance. Where do they get loan moves? They don't, because there's one position in that team. That's it. They're not going to come off the bench. You've got what? So every position, every youth, is all completely different to what we just anticipate. This is the be all and end all, and this should be the way it works. I don't think it works like that anymore. Yeah,
but I mean, and to answer your question there, Luke, right? Where where are these youth players with Chelsea? Well, they're a part of their massive loan army. And that is the reason why they go to it. Not only is it for the wages, but because they also feel like they're going to be put in the shop window when they do go out on loan, right? So it's the make or break opportunity, to enhance your career, right? And that's that is the nexus of all these big clubs, is they have massive loan armies for the one simple point of the fact that I would probably assume that of 95% of those players that are going to be a part of that loan army, 95% of those are probably going to be sold on. And I don't care whether it's at Spurs or somewhere else, right? If you go out on loan and make a name for yourself, you're going to find first team success somewhere else. And it's one of the biggest disadvantages that Tottenham Hotspur have, that they don't necessarily have that that necessary loan army. That is either going to weed out those that are going to go out on permanent deals, or those that are going to come in and actually try to compete. It's just something that it's something that we actually are at a disadvantage in the Premier League because we don't I hate to use the term, but we disincentivize the academy.
And also,
yeah, and even if you look at Go on, Luke.
I was just going to quickly say what Rain Man is saying there about they don't care about the money. There's a reason that Adrian literally just mentioned that we had to break the wage structure of the youth players because they was all leaving because they weren't earning enough money. Madueke is the prime example of we was not a club that was in top fours. We was top eights sort of thing when he left. It's not just about getting through to the first team. It's about earning the money. So instead of earning it at Tottenham, which we had a low wage structure, he went to PSV. Now he's on 150 grand a week. So I don't think we seem to think that football is like a linear, this is how it works.
Right.
It just does not work like that, unfortunately. There are some players that have no care about money because they think, I'm so good, I'm going to earn it. I don't care. This is the way I'm going to do. But unfortunately, most it's just like more money, more money, more money. That's why 12, 11-year-olds are being bought now. That's just the way it goes.
And if you look at some of them before the academy has grown to be what it is now, which is a fantastic 5-star academy. Madueke's gone out, he's going to be a multi-millionaire. Troy Parrott's gone out, he's going to be a multi-millionaire. You've got Marcus Edwards, he's now at Burnley, earned his wages in Portugal. They're all having good careers. They're still quite young, right, and can move on again. I mean, like, they're all going to be multi-millionaires. I mean, like, and you may get a case, well, as has happened in the past, that you might let a player slip through that becomes a superstar and smashes it, and then you get half the fan base go, oh, why'd we let him go through? You know, but that's just that's going to happen, right? Because these players are that good at their level. And you want them to do well because you can say, oh, well, they came for our academy. And then and that again attracts more players to your academy when they've seen other players that are a success. They might not necessarily make it in a Spurs team, but if they go on and become a success, then that will attract players to you as well. We are a big attraction, I'll tell you now, for kids now. Virtually, they all want to. I mean, they might want to come
PlayStations,
but we're up there. We are up there. Is it like?
In a way, it's kind of the twisted way that that's one way of looking at it. But then Chelsea, their sales pitch is probably I know Luke says why would you want to go to Chelsea? But there's probably a percentage of players, that their sales pitch is, look, we'll pay you decent money, come and see if you can make it work. There's a chance that you could win some silverware. If not, we don't have a problem letting go of players either. Like, it's almost like they say, come and give it a go for a couple of years. If you make it, you make it. If you don't, happy days. You've made some money. You might win a cup. You might not, but we'll let you go 2-3 years from now if it's not working out. And the player thinks to themselves, well, that sounds pretty cushy. Because there's always going to be players, like you said, Luke, that their priority is playing because ultimately I think deep down they know, or their powers that be know, be it the parents, the agent, whoever, this kid's good enough or this person's good enough that the money is naturally just going to come. If they keep working as hard as they do and they go on the trajectory, Lucas Berrival, prime example, has gone from 5-6 grand a week to about 55-60 grand a week this year because the project, just there, he concentrates, gets his head down, the money happens. And chances are, if he keeps his head down again, the next contract's going to be 150. And then somebody's going to come in for 60, 80 million, and the next contract's going to be 250. And that's just the way it works if you're one of those superstar type players. But there's going to be a percentage of players where, I know this isn't to speak badly of the parents or anything like that, but behind the scenes, they're pulling the strings, right? Realistically, are you actually going to make it here? Well, no, maybe not. So this team is offering you 4 years at this amount. Do you know what? It might be worth you just taking that. Yes, you love football. Yes, you want to progress. But by the same token, there's every chance that you could fall to the wayside or get injured tomorrow. So, You want to sign a contract for 4 years that guarantees you 50 grand a year, or 50 grand a week. So there are these things in the background that you kind of have to take into consideration, right?
100%. If you speak to anyone that's been at Spurs for a considerably long time, virtually every single one of them says the best player that's ever come through our academy is a guy called Terry Dixon. They all say it. They say he was basically Wayne Rooney before Rooney was Rooney. He was like 16. He was built like a man.
Yeah.
And he never
like Irish kid, right?
And everyone says this guy was elite before he was 15. He was like always destined to make it. A couple of injuries, and all of a sudden he's got no career. So I'm not saying it's all on the parents or anything like that. If you're offered $4 grand a week at 14, mate, you might not grow. You might get an injury. You might break your leg. You might do your cruciate. You've got no idea. And some of these parents, they've got no money. They've got nothing. So they're going.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
And there's so many factors that go into it. The Morgan Gibbs White situation is the perfect example. Everyone's sitting there saying this, that, and the other, not knowing that actually his wife's in hospital. It's like there's so much that goes into it, and we just think that it's a bigger club, or you've got more of a chance, or that there's so many factors that go into these sorts of decisions.
No.
Yeah, you're absolutely
and big up, sorry, Steve, I'll let you come in for a second. Sorry, big up, Rain Man. And it's not like this is a really, really nice, a really good debate, a really nice debate, and I like to have it. It says, but Spurs, we don't even want to place bets on kids. Let's face it. Our narrative is actually an abdication of responsibility to develop them. I don't necessarily. I was going to say I'll open the let Steve come in. Go on.
Well, see, here's the thing though, right? Because Spurs made a conscious decision to go out there and spend money on Archie Gray, Lucas Bergvall, Odegaard, Tell, these type of players. They have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure those players get developed first. It's not an abdication of responsibility if you understand exactly what the actual academy is there, the purpose that it serves within the club. Right? It's not like they're not developing youth; they are developing youth. But the reality is if you're looking at it from a business standpoint, you have to understand exactly what this is. It's a business. Even the academy is a business within the part of the football club, right? And so the responsibility of the academy is to, is not necessarily to develop the academy. Well, it is when they're in academy, but you get what I'm saying. When they graduate and they move up and they move out on loan. The development for them is in the responsibility of the other team that takes them on loan, versus the players that you actually paid for because you actually have that fiduciary responsibility to do it. It's not an abdication of responsibility if you understand exactly what the academy is there to serve a purpose.
You don't get with the top clubs. You take Man City, player they've got who didn't hit his straps this season, but Phil Foden I think is a fantastic player. Last season, the season before last, he was brilliant. Right? How long did it take him to get established? And don't forget, they got rid of Jadon Sancho. He went to Dortmund, then he went to Man United. Very hard. Now they've got a few players coming through like Riley, players like that. James McAtee, who I watched play for the under-21s, a good player. But not many make it. And the reason is because rich clubs, we've named it with Chelsea and Man City, they can buy to fix a problem in their squad. It's an easy solution for them. It does it. And when they complain, and I've had people say to me, oh, well, the European youngsters, they're more developed than ours. Of course they are. There's a reason behind it. Even the poorest clubs in the Premier League can go out and buy a player if they've got a problem in a position. They can't do that in Europe. They haven't got the money. So they play their youngsters and they develop quicker because of that. Well, that's my theory anyway.
I'm just going to, Raymond, I've got to come back on this a little bit. If Sherwood had allowed that mindset to be applied to him, Kane would never have made it at Spurs. I mean, you are taking the biggest exception to the rule.
You're talking
for every Harry Kane, there was about 20 Nabil Bentalebs. So come on.
It's like you're talking, it's the exception, not the rule. Yes, there's going to be the occasional player that
quite frankly, what you're saying
goes
makes 100% sense.
Yeah,
and is
that goes on to
wrong.
be the best striker. Yeah, there's going to be a player that's going to come through your academy,
Brilliant.
And he's going to turn into the best striker the country has ever produced. But then there's, you probably can name 10 other strikers that came through the academy that probably couldn't make it in League Two.
But you've just
Kane went out to Norwich, Millwall, Leicester. Van der Vaart said he's shit. That's what Raphael van der
Well,
Vaart said.
it's
I mean,
why have an academy? Well, because for
Make
every
money.
couple of hundred for every £200,000 to £500,000 or dollars or whatever that you put into some players, there's a chance that you could exponentially, make exponentially more money, because if you do uncover that gem that's just not quite good enough for you, but you can sell them to Leicester for 20 million, then that keeps the next generation. It's just,
Correct.
I mean, I know it sounds awful. It sounds like a conveyor belt of just, I know we're throwing kids to the wayside, or that's how it seems, but I just don't think it's as horrible as that, right?
But if that's your way of thinking, then your second from last comment is exactly the reason why you have an academy, because then you get a Kane who you have for 12 years, he becomes your top goal scorer, and you sell him for 100 million. That's the exact reason why. That is the whole idea around academies. And just going back to the whole we buy players and we should be playing the youth players. Last year when Ajayi come on, and I'm not saying Ajayi's going to make it or he isn't, but when Ajayi come on, scored the goal, everybody said he should be playing and should be playing him. Ajayi's record last year in the second division, the Premier League 2, was 18 games, 3 goals. So he wasn't good enough, or he wasn't doing unbelievable things in the second division of the Premier League, but yet fans are saying he should be starting instead of a Odobert, instead of where there's no proof that these guys are any better. That's what we're saying, is that our academy needs to be able to reach the levels of the first team. We don't make the levels of the first team reach the academy, because that will be great, but we'll be playing championship football if the academy teams are not good enough. And that's what you're saying. You want academy players always playing, but then we can only be to a certain level. That's the problem.
That's the problem.
Very
well said, Luke. Very well said.
Adrian, you want to come in? Got anything to add?
What on the academy?
Yeah.
I think we haven't spent all this money on the training ground. This is done for a reason. There's I think there's 16 pitches over there, one indoor AstroTurf pitch. The women's training ground's going to have 6 or 7 pitches, 2 half-size pitches, probably for 5-a-side or 8-a-side or whatever they play these days. Same again. There's a reason behind this. It's just building the foundations, right, for the future of the club from the lowest academy level. I think legally it's got to be 8 years upwards, not younger. It might be 8 or 9. But yeah, so there's a reason we're investing. We are investing and building the foundations of this football club, and we will get players will come through, and it might only be one every couple of years, but the academy will pay for itself. I mean, if you look at Kane, you mentioned this, a prime example, really. If you say the 86 million we got for him, that's paid for the academy for how many years, really? Because he came through. He didn't cost anything. So he's the best example, isn't he? Exceptional. And then, you can say you're lucky we got through. I mean, he was at Arsenal as a kid.
That's that comment.
We don't say that word here. But.
Yeah.
The academy basically to generate money. The whole idea of the academy is that it pays for itself until a Kane comes along. It pays for itself until a player comes into your first team that is able to stay there for a considerably long time. And if you can keep doing that, if anyone's went into any business and said, I'm going to start up a company and we're just going to keep generating, and then I'll keep making these new companies constantly, and then we'll sell one for billions, and then we'll just keep doing it, everyone's going to go, you keep doing that. Unfortunately, that is just the way football works. It's what City do, it's what Chelsea do.
Right.
We just don't have the academy levels just yet, because we're buying the young players. Eventually, when you've got Moores coming through, Moores 22, when you've got Barnett, when you've got Janiyah Byfield, when they are reaching the first team levels, then we should have a good enough academy to be able to bring them in and blood them in.
I'll just say this, and I'll give you a good example of exactly what I'm talking about. Right. So let's just say for grins that Tottenham loan out Mikey Moore. Whether it's to the championship or maybe he goes to Germany, France, whatever the case may be, and he goes on to have a 15 to 20 goal type season. That type of goal contribution where he's got 15 goals, 10 assists, or 20 goals, 10 assists, something like that. And the very next summer, there's going to be a team that's going to come after him on a permanent deal, and they're offering $40 to $45 million for his services. You don't think you think Spurs are going to turn that down? No, they're going to say thank you. They're going to say thank you. And even though that it might be a hard decision to do, it's the right decision to do. because again, that's the whole purpose of the academy. It serves its purpose by, by the same things we've been talking about, by being self-sufficient, right? That's the whole nexus of what academy is supposed to do. And it's not even immune for players like Mikey Moore, especially if he goes out and has that type of special season. There's going to be takers that are going to throw money at the feet of Tottenham Hotspur for his services, and if it's high enough, he's gone.
FFP.
Yeah, well, you just look at the successful under-21 side. We had 8 players out on loan. I think you had Craig Matthews will probably be sold. He was at Mansfield. Abbott was at Notts County. Keely and Donnelly were at Orient. You had Vuskovic and Devine at Westerlo, right? Dorrington was out at Aberdeen. Phillips was at Stoke, right? I probably missed a couple out, right? But that's the attraction of the academy when you've got winning players, and you'll get money for those, even if it's 5 million, 4 mil, 3 mil, 4 mil. You'll get, and this is why you run an academy as well. There's not going to be room for everyone to come through, even if there's a pathway. You could hit a miracle 3 or 4 come through to the first team. If you're lucky, like Man United or a 5 or 6, that could possibly happen. Very unlikely, in my opinion. If you get a couple come through out of this crop, I mean, Vuskovic wasn't really with the academy, but we know how good he was. We paid 12 million for him as a 16-year-old from Magic Split, who then goes to Poland and smashes it there. Didn't need time to settle in. Goes to Westerlo. Didn't need time to settle in. Smashes there. Gets 6 or 7 goals in the games he's played there with Devine. And now he comes here and he's impressed everyone. It is only Reading, but not a bad debut in 9 minutes. Goal, assist, and like a clearance as well, which the keeper probably had covered, but he was there to do it. So, yeah, I just think like it's a golden period for our academy. It really is, and we keep looking at players to bring them in. So, preps to Paratici and our scouting system and recruitment team that deal with that, because they're bringing in that are out there that everyone wants. Some are coming to us. We won't get them all, but we're getting a fair chunk of quality players in that academy.
But also FFP comes into it as well. Again, use Chelsea as an example. Conor Gallagher was their captain and they sold him because he cost them nothing, and it was £60 million on that balance sheet that they couldn't get from anybody else. So it's actually going to get worse now, because people are going to be like, oh, he could be a big player for us, but hang on a minute, we could get 20 million. We could break we won't break FFP. We won't get put. So it could end up getting worse. The rules weren't brought in for this. They was brought in to enhance young players. However, now they're going to be more used as make weights in deals where.
I guess that's the thing, Luke. I guess the bitter taste is that they are one of your own, but the incentive now, because all of it goes on the balance sheet, it's kind of skewed it. It was supposed to incentivize, but it's incentivized in the wrong way. And I think you have to they have to look at the rules more than anything, as opposed to looking for clubs to change, necessarily the way that they run their academies. Because I don't fault anybody, like you just said. I mean, and Conor Gallagher, 60 million. Thanks very much. See you later. That does us for... that does us for 3, 4, 5 years over there,
Pochettino was the manager of Chelsea and he was arguing with the hierarchy, and it was one of the reasons that he left the job or was sacked, was because he was going, no, this is a top player that I want to keep. And Chelsea were going, yeah, but from a business point of view, it just makes sense. So, like, we're worrying about a player that's never played a first team appearance. They're selling a player that's been captain of their club and come through their academy, and as a Chelsea fan, it's like... Football is a different world to the world we live in, unfortunately, and it's not as clear as we think it is. I don't think, anyway.
Yeah.
You also need them as well, don't you, to produce your homegrown, and then you need your academy trained for if you're in Europe as well. So you need to, and we haven't got that yet. Probably next year. I haven't checked all the young players' contracts. Next year we might be okay. This year we might have to ride the storm. We've only got 7 homegrown players at the moment. If we get Morgan Gibbs-White in, or Hayden Hackney, Adam Walton, I'd love, right? Then we'll have the 8. We're going to get Morgan Gibbs-White. We'll have the 8, and then we'll see. Like next year, some of those players in the academy might qualify to be actually academy trained. You have to be 3 years with the academy, but you've also got to cover a certain age as well in 1 or 2 of those years, I think. So it doesn't work that you're with the club at like 10 and you're 13, you've done 3 years. That doesn't count, right? So I know that doesn't count. So yeah, so that'll help us with the homegrown issue.
I think it's from your scholar days. I think from 15
maybe 1 year at
21.
15 and 2 above 18 or something like that, right? Yeah. I mean, why these rules aren't more simplified, I just don't know. And why they aren't in line with Europe, I don't know, you know. So, yeah. I mean, we've got 3 foreigners in the team that count as homegrown. We've got 2 Welsh guys and we've got 2 Welsh guys.
Eric Dyer was the worst example. Eric Dyer was English but didn't count as homegrown. So, sorry, what?
Right.
What are you saying here?
So we've got 2 players that play for Wales that count homegrown, and who's the other one? There's another one. Oh, I can't remember that. Yeah.
All right, well, we'll touch on just quickly. We're going 2 hours. We're going to wrap up real quick. Obviously, as I mentioned, we've got the 2 games tomorrow. I mean, these are speculative lineups. So don't pay too much attention to it. But again, it's preseason. It's just about getting. Well, hang on a minute, Adrian. It's just about getting kind of minutes in legs in it. More importantly, for the coaches and stuff like that. What's more interesting for me, and I think me and Adrian were mentioning it backstage before you guys arrived, is how the coaching staff are going to kind of set up. Whether Frank will be at the first game and then travel to the second game and get there for the second half, whether they'll just do everything remotely, and whether they've got an action plan, whether you'll get a first team coach take one game, Frank take another. But I mean, we shouldn't really read too much into it, right? It's literally just about getting fitness levels up and for them to get their eyes on players. But I mean, you expect a couple of wins tomorrow, Luke?
Yeah, I think the squad's good enough with the youth players that are coming in that you would expect them to play and win both games, but it's just about minutes, especially the behind closed door one. I think there's been a couple of conversations in the chat to say that actually Frank could make both games, so maybe he attends both but leaves the first one, which seems to be the least important one because it's behind closed doors, at like 60-70 minutes and goes and takes the team at another one. But I think this is very much a last chance saloon for a few players. Spurs is renowned, and most clubs do it, to be fair. When you go on the tour, you kind of have an idea who's been left out to say, off you pop, go and find somewhere to find, like, to get for the season. So I think it's just a last chance, last little look at a few players where he's probably got, let's say he's got a 25-man squad, he's probably got 18 to 20 in his head where he's going, yeah, you're in. Now it's you've probably got 7 or 8 players where he's going, could you? Are you? Like Vuskovic, for instance, probably going to be in. Is Lancashire? He will know whether we're signing a striker. Is Lancashire my guy? Is Scarlett my guy? Is Donnelly gonna play for? I think it's gonna be the kind of last little ticks to say they'll be in my squads, and then it will be fitness for everyone else, obviously.
When I did the Luton one, because it's a senior one, I've sort of picked the first 7 and not the front 4 of what he sort of played against Reading.
Yeah.
So we know that our main back 5 is going to be Vicario, Udogi, VDV, Romero and Porro. And he did play Bentancur and Sarr. The front 4 I sort of guessed that, although I thought he's going to go with Solanke and Kudus. I couldn't say that Donnelly, out of Donnelly, Soromora, who would play, or whether he'd pick someone else there. But I think this is a very likely sort of lineup. The majority of those, at least 9 of those, I think will be playing, right? So obviously with the Wickham, right, this is more mixed. I mean, me and Drew were talking. I said, I don't see Frank being at both games, honestly. You can't rush to Luton, be in a hurry up, you know, palpitations and all that, and then try and prep the team for the game. I mean, it's just too short a time spell in between. You can get there with enough time, but I'm not sure. Maybe he'll have already set it out with his coaches what to do. He can watch that game on playback. Both games on Spurs play. He can watch it on playback and say to the guys, well, look, start this team. I want these subs second half, introduce them at half time or whatever, you know, because you've got, that's 24 players without the subs. It's 35. 35
well,
players.
I mean, you mentioned, Luke mentioned kind of Frank having an idea of, this lot are kind of my definitelys. You got a few definitely maybes, and you've got some real maybes. Do you think there's a possibility that he sends off the guys that he thinks are pretty much guaranteed, and he keeps the ones that he's not sure about, and he stays and has a look at those? Would that be kind of a logical way? Because if he's got players that he knows, doesn't necessarily need to go and look at them, right? But then also Mola brings up a good point. He could probably do it in a chopper. You know what they're like nowadays, probably 20 minutes as the crow flies.
But he's also got 6 games. He's got those 2 games.
Yeah.
Then you've got Arsenal, in Hong Kong, 2 games in Korea, and a game against Bayern Munich before we on the 13th, Wednesday the 13th, we play PSG in the Super Cup. So he's got 6 games to have a good look at a lot of these youngsters. And if if you're happy with so many of the first team players, then you want to see the youngsters in cameo roles doing well. Whether they win or lose a game is not so much important. If you want a player to catch the eye.
Sorry, this has tickled me. Why would they be on horseback? Brilliant. Do we think that the club have given Frank a free Spurs Play subscription, or has he had to pay for it? Just
depends who's in charge. It depends.
For those of you out there, I think it's one of the most worthwhile things to purchase. You get every league game. I'm not sponsoring Levy yet, but you get every
Levy in disguise. You
Levy in
every
disguise.
league game. You get all the academy games that are televised, because some academy teams they haven't got the setup right. Yeah. So you get all the academy games. You get the women's football. You get all the interviews with players. I mean, for what it costs you, it only cost me 35 quid because I'm a season ticket holder. It might cost you 45 or 50 if you're not.
Sure.
I think it's what's there and what you can go and see. I think it's worth every penny. But
Well, I'll tell you what, we've hit a 2 hours, 5 minutes. I think we'll probably wrap it up there. I want to say a huge thank you to our guest this evening, Luke. It's been absolutely amazing to have you on, mate. Really enjoyed the chat, and we'll love to get you back on in the future once the season gets underway. Got the little link up here, youtube.com//spotlight on Spurs. Let everybody know what you got coming up in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, so at the moment I'm just doing, I've only been going like 3.5 months. So I just do the single stream once a week on a Thursday at this moment in time, discussing all things Spurs, covering Morgan Gibbs White again next week and the following week and probably the week and a week after that. But I've also just released a little mini series where I'm going out and reaching out to as many Spurs YouTubers as I can and asking everybody the same 10 questions and seeing what everyone's responses are to them. It's a little mini series, so I think we're 2 down. One's going live tomorrow. So I'm gradually working my way around, but finding the time to do this is quite difficult. As I'm sure you guys are aware, there's a lot more work that goes into this YouTube.
Luke, just to interrupt, I've got to say this. If Levy drags his negotiations out for weeks, he'll save £1 million in Morgan Gibbs White's wages, right?
and I don't have to worry about thumbnails. I just put Morgan Gibbs White on every single one of them now. It's brilliant. I haven't got to make any changes. It's like I know what we're talking about. So yeah, it's been brilliant. Honestly, I enjoy it. I love coming on. Love talking Spurs. I love hearing everyone's opinions, and that's what I want my channel to be. It's not going to be the same people saying the same stuff. It's all different opinions, whether you like a player, don't like a player, whatever it is. So yeah, it'd be brilliant to have some of you guys on. Drew, I think you've already been on, but it'd be great to Adrian, you've been on as well, haven't you? So yeah, it'd be great to have you guys all back on at some stage.
Yeah, of course. We will reciprocate. Okay,
absolutely. And Mr. Steve Silver, as always, pleasure having you. Love the conversation. You've got, is it this evening? You've got a show coming up on your channel and you're interviewing a journalist. Is that right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern, we have Jeff Lageson of Prost International to come give the midseason report for my beloved Seattle Sounders as we start getting into the heart of the Major League Soccer season. This is exactly when teams are going to start to put their foot on the gas as we prepare for the playoffs and So Jeff is going to come on and talk a little bit about the Seattle Sounders. Tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock UK time, Ash Maddock of Spurs Kings TV is going to join me on the American Hotspur as we talk about the Spurs goal contributors for this upcoming season. I have a sneaking suspicion that goals are not going to be necessarily coming as quick and fast as they were under Edge Postecoglou in his first season. And we're also going to be talking a little bit about the youth and whether or not we actually have a youth board that's going to be able to help us in a trophy race. So that's going to be tomorrow, and hopefully I can get Luke to come on in the near future as well too.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. And then also we have the you're pretty cool too, Drew. I like you too, Adrian. It's all good. And then of course on Saturday night we have the Major League Soccer live stream, Seattle Sounders versus Atlanta United. That's going to be 7:30 Saturday night, which I believe is 12:30 a.m. UK time for all you hardcore soccer fans over there in the UK. If you want to tune in to watch some good football, man. I got to tell you, man, MLS is where it's at.
Yeah, get over to Steve's channel, everyone. I mean, when Steve's everywhere, he's ubiquitous, right? When he's not broadcasting, he's about to broadcast, right? So, like, you can't miss him, right?
Well,
or he has just finished broadcasting.
Yeah, listen, man. This was the summer of soccer. This was the summer of soccer in the United States with the Club World Cup, and then of course the U.S. men's national team and their Gold Cup run. So it has been all over the place this summer, and it still continues. So what can I say? And it's only going to make it a little bit worse too when we start getting into the Premier League portion of the season. And I have like 2 different live streams going every single weekend. So.
Yeah, absolutely. On Spotlight at Spurs, he hasn't been going along, but he's got a fantastic following for the time he's been going. He's doing really good. I mean, he's growing exponentially, and long may it continue. We all like to help ourselves out in the Spurs community. So back to you, Drew.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I just want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Again, Steve, Luke, Ian earlier, Adrian. I will see you next Friday. To everybody in the chat, especially to Peter Kagaias, who's given away 30 in total. I repeat, 30 gifted memberships. So if you were a recipient of one of those, then please do reach out and say thank you so much. Everybody in the chat, you are regulars, newcomers, old faces. It's been a pleasure. You've kept the conversation going, which is always fantastic. We really enjoy it. Special shout out to Rain Man. It was great chat. We weren't, obviously we were just a little bit of back and forth, but all in good fun. And I really appreciate your takes and just the honesty of the conversation. So big up yourself. Really appreciate it. Everybody else, you are. There's too many to mention, but you're all great. We really appreciate the support. There's been 150 to 170 concurrent viewers, so it's great. It's nice to see us growing. So with that, I'll say thank you once again to our guests. Say thank you to you in the chat. We'll see you next week. I'll see you guys in the back room. And with that.
till I die.